A reporter for Newsweek has been fired after publishing an article that said President Trump would be, quote, tweeting, golfing, and more on Thanksgiving. Before, it was revealed that the president was making an unannounced visit to Afghanistan. That reporter has apologized and is insisting her editors told her to write that article. And just breaking within the last few hours, Newsweek confirming that a second employee has been penalized. An unnamed editor has been demoted.
That's ridiculous.
So, Jana, over to you. Since
well,
you
first of all, the editor,
I
don't know what happened. I will know. Twitter is not good for, it doesn't enhance anybody. It's kind of fun. You can keep up with the news on it. But if it leads to your firing because you are, and I would tend to believe her, that her editor's like, why don't you go write this up? Because that's what Newsweek is all about right now. Now, should she have hedged? Yes, because you're heading into a holiday season. They had a very good head fake. Vice President Pence went to Iraq, and it was like, oh, wow, he went to Iraq to celebrate Thanksgiving early with the families. And this White House is so good about keeping a secret, like nobody knew. She could have hedged and say, of course, you never know. Stay tuned. We'll see what happens. But then that the second person that's fired or demoted gets to be unnamed. Mm-hmm. I think that's wrong.
Yeah. So, Greg, the day before Thanksgiving, the White House sends out the official schedule for the president the day before, and it said that he had a 3 p.m. phone call with military members around the world. That obviously didn't happen because he went to Afghanistan, but that also wasn't mentioned. It was simply presented as golf and turkey, right? So
yeah. Well, this is a double scoop of evidence of why the media is disgusting and why nobody trusts them. One, they created the fake news. They assigned the fake news. Two, they fire the writer who they told to do the fake news to cover their asses. I don't think you could find a more spineless action than that. They should just be despised. And the only reason why they got caught is because the real story got reported. If the real story wasn't reported, Newsweek would have kept publishing the lie. I think the people that got fired, they should sue Newsweek and then buy it for $1. I don't think it's actually and then close it down, put it out of its misery. We were talking in the break how much we loved Newsweek growing up. You couldn't even use it to wipe an animal's bottom.
Oh, Jesse, should she have been fired?
Sure. Yeah, why not? Cut her loose. They needed a fall guy or a fall girl. Someone's got to take the heat here. And it's not the editor, because the editor said, get the story done before Thanksgiving. So she just did what she was told. The editor can't take the fall. He's the editor.
No, he should for that.
But he won't, because he's the boss. And the boss never is accountable.
He should be fired.
You have to fire some underling.
I want to know if the guy who got demoted, or if that person is male or female.
Yeah,
I want to know.
Playing the gender card.
I'm going to play that card right now.
You have spent a lot of time, and the reporter who got fired actually has a long history of working in a number of organizations and has awards, and et cetera. But one, you've spent a lot of time in newsrooms throughout your lifetime. Should she have been fired over this, considering she assumed the president would be golfing? She assumed he would be doing these things. That wasn't confirmed through any official source that those are the things he would be doing.
Right, but she was assigned to write a story for a weekend. So, if you're going into a big weekend like we just did Thanksgiving weekend, you have a bunch of days coming up. Everything front-page stories. Those front-page stories aren't written the day before. Typically, they're written like a week before, and they've been assigned. So the White House didn't announce that he was going on this trip. What they released, she wrote about and made fun of it for her audience.
Isn't that the problem, though? She's a reporter.
But no, I think the problem is they did update the headline, Katie. They did update the headline. He's golfing, he's doing this, and he went to... And so I thought, well, what's the problem here? If you update it, if you say we were wrong, we were wrong.
Okay.
But why you fire her, I don't... Unless you're just...
Covering her butt.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
I think she'll get hired by someone else right away.
Well,
but it just shows you.
Why did they do that? That seems to me to be punishing somebody who's doing their job.
The bias is so underlying that they didn't even think that it could be a different story.
Well, speaking of bias, so Jesse, Bloomberg obviously announced that they're not going to be investigating Michael Bloomberg now that he is running for president, but they're still going to investigate the Trump campaign and the Trump administration. So the Trump campaign today said, all right, no more access for Bloomberg reporters if you're obviously not going to be fair to us.
Good. They're not reporters. They're private investigators. If you're only investigating one political party and not the other, you're a private eye. Take the credentials away. I don't see a problem with it at all. I just think it's funny how they actually think that the fair thing to do is only investigate Trump. That was their decision. It's crazy.
Juan, is that a fair thing for the Trump campaign to do, since they're openly stating they're not going to fairly cover both sides?
This is not about fair, Katie. This is about politics.
Is it about journalism?
I don't think it's about journalism. I think it's about politics. Remember, Trump I think he took away credentials from Politico, the Washington Post, and the Des Moines Register in 2016 at some point, right? He just said, I don't like the way you cover me. And I think that's what we're seeing here. This is an opportunity to bash the media, and that plays well with the Trump crowd.
Greg, do you love this move by the campaign?
I thought it was hilarious and fair because they have Bloomberg, they revealed an absurd bias. Rather than say we're gonna investigate our boss and all the Democrats, they just said no. We'll just do that and focus on Trump. Imagine if the right had pulled something like that. I think Bloomberg should probably sever ties with his media company until he stops running. That's the best thing, and then they can investigate him. That seems to be the most fair thing.
It is absolutely the most fair thing. And the consequences of him not being willing to make that decision are that a lot of people who are good reporters at Bloomberg are being punished, or and they'll probably end up leaving.
Yeah.
And then the woman from Newsweek can go work for them.
There you go.
See, we saw problems here.